Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about running your dental lab on Cympha. 3 names first, because you will hear all of them. Guide Mia is the company. Cympha is the online platform where your cases live. Guide Mia also makes desktop design programs Ortho Plus and Implant Master, which your designers install on Windows PCs and license separately. Our worked example is Sophia, who runs Apex Dental Lab. She will register the lab, complete the onboarding wizard, build her team, bring her existing clients across, and then take in a real case, the implant Dr. Amara submitted in the companion session. You do not need to have seen that one. There are 2 halves ahead. The first 4 steps you do once. The rest repeat on every case for as long as you run the lab. Here is the whole thing in one picture. The left-hand stretch is set up, register the lab, complete the wizard, build the team, bring your clients on. You do that once. Everything from the queue onwards repeats per case. Now the fork in the middle. When a case arrives you triage it, which simply means look at what came in and decide who does it. It goes either to a human designer or to a liner bot, which is an AI designer that runs the work on a workstation in your lab. Both branches rejoin immediately, because from the doctor's point of view nothing differs, they get a plan to approve either way. The colors show who acts. Blue is you. Violet is your designers. Pink is a liner bot. Notice how little of this is blue. Once setup is done, most of your day is watching and stepping in only where a human judgment is genuinely needed. Sign up at app.cympha.com and, on the roll screen, choose Lab Manager. One difference between your sign up and everybody else's explains a question people always ask. Roles that belong to a lab team join a lab that already exists, and they do that by typing a lab manager's email address. You are creating the lab, so there is nothing to look up and no email to enter. If you are hunting for a field to type your own address into, that is why it is not there. Take the role choice seriously, because a role cannot be changed afterwards from your account. Picking the wrong one means asking Cympha support. Completing sign up makes you the owner of a brand new lab and the 4-step onboarding wizard opens by itself. Registering the lab is free. What it costs to run cases through Cympha we will come to at the end, with the actual numbers. 4 steps. Lab info and introduction. Build the public page. Clinics read when they find you, so be concrete rather than promotional, what you design, the customers you work with, and what your turnaround genuinely is. A doctor comparing 2 labs is reading for specifics. Services is where you list what you sell, and each service gets one of 2 pricing kinds. Fixed means the doctor sees a price and pays it, which suits work that is always the same. Flexible means you quote per case once you have seen what arrived, which suits anything where the scope varies. You can change either later. One practical warning about the wizard itself: what you type is saved, but the wizard always reopens at the first step. There is no resume point, so it is worth setting aside the time to go through it once rather than dipping in and out. This is the step to do properly rather than quickly, and here is why. Your order form is the paper or PDF form you have always sent clients. Uploaded here in Cympha reads it once and builds the intake form, which is the web form doctors fill in when they submit to you. When a case arrives, that same information prints as a 1-page lab slip for the bench. 1 document, 3 shapes. So this upload sets the accuracy of your intake for months. A clean, current form means cases arrive right. A stale one, with services you dropped 2 years ago, means somebody correcting the same field on every case forever. 20 minutes here saves you more work than anything else in this session. You do not invite designers. They sign themselves up, entering your manager email so they land in your lab, and choosing their own role on the way through. Their request appears under Approval Requests on your team page and you click Approve. It is an inversion of what people expect, and it has one real advantage: no invitation sitting unclaimed in a spam folder while you both wait for the other. Your manager email is simply the address you signed up with. Cympha does not issue you a special one. It is worth writing down, because everyone who joins your lab, and every clinic that sends you work, finds you through it. Check this page regularly in your early weeks. A designer who has signed up and is waiting on you cannot do anything at all, and they will assume the product is broken rather than that a human has not clicked yet. This is where requests land. 2 habits worth forming. Approve promptly, for the reason we just covered. And when somebody leaves the lab, come back here and remove them, that same day. It takes 10 seconds and it is the kind of housekeeping nobody notices until an account that belongs to nobody still has access to your client's patient cases. You can also switch a membership off temporarily, which is the right move for someone on leave you expect back. Before we get to assigning work, the thing to set up if you want AI to design your aligners. Aligner bot is not a switch you turn on. It is a team seat with its own account that happens to be software. Somebody at your lab signs up with your manager email, picks the aligner bot role, and you approve it exactly like a designer. What sits behind that account is a Windows PC in your lab running Ortho Plus, which is Guide Mia's orthodontic design program, licensed separately, with the Cympha agent paired on it. That PC is what actually does the work, so it needs to be a machine that stays on. One honest caveat about capacity, because the marketing version of this is vaguer than it should be. That workstation runs up to 8 cases in parallel, 3 by default, and it starts them at most 1 a minute. It is a real multiplier, not an infinite one. This is the step labs skip and then wonder why the queue is empty. Cympha is not a marketplace that allocates work to you. Your clients find your lab by searching for it, which means they cannot find you unless you have told them you are here. So tell them, over whatever channel you already use. On their side it is simple, they sign up, and when creating a case they search for a lab. They can search by your lab's name, or by your manager's name, or by the email address, and partial matches work, so nobody has to type anything exactly. Once they have selected your lab on a case, their cases route to you from then on without either of you thinking about it. One condition that catches new labs, you only become findable once you have completed the onboarding wizard. If a client says they cannot see you, check that first. When Amara submits her implant, it arrives in your case queue as submitted, waiting for triage. Filter by submitted and you are looking at exactly the list that needs a decision from you, which is the only view that matters first thing in the morning. Open a case and everything is in one place, the intake form she filled in, every file she uploaded, and the lab slip you can download as a PDF for the bench. If something is missing or the prescription is ambiguous, the chat is on the queue row, so you ask before you assign rather than after a designer has started. Because the chat is attached to the case, the question and its answer stay with the case. 6 weeks later, when somebody asks why a decision was taken, it is on the record instead of in an email belonging to whoever picked up the phone. This is the view you will spend the most time in. Treat the submitted filter as your inbox. Everything in it is waiting on a decision only you can make, and everything outside it is somebody else's turn. A lab that keeps this list short is a lab where nothing sits for 3 days because nobody noticed it had arrived. Triage is one dialog. Click Assign on the queue row, choose a person, confirm. 3 things then happen without you. The status flips from submitted to designing, so the doctor watching from their side can see it has been picked up. The designer is emailed. And the case appears in their assignments, with files already downloading to their workstation if their agent is paired. For an implant, an orthodontic case, or a general lab service, this is the path. You can reassign later with the same button if somebody is off sick or the case needs different expertise, and the activity log records the change so the history stays honest. Nothing about reassigning is treated as a failure. Now the honest version of how Aligner bot work actually reaches the bot, because this is the detail most likely to waste your afternoon. Aligner bot seats do not appear in the assigned designer picker, because that list is filtered to designers. Use the case's own assign dialog instead. It lists every seat in the lab, Aligner bot included. The workstation side is set up once from the agent's tray, under Aligner bot, configure. Once it is running, the flow is genuinely hands-off. The paired workstation downloads the files, runs the design in Ortho Plus, uploads the result, and the case moves to awaiting approval for the doctor with nobody in between. That is the part worth the setup. Aligner work has always been limited by trained designer hours, which is why labs either turn it away or send it out and lose the margin. This is how you keep both the work and the doctor relationship. From here most cases run themselves and your job becomes exception handling rather than routing. The designer works in designing, then requests approval, which moves the case to the doctor. If the doctor requests changes, the case returns to the same designer automatically. You do not route it and nothing waits on you. If the doctor escalates, that is deliberate and it lands on you, reassign, or go into the chat and resolve whatever the disagreement is. If a case is genuinely stuck you can change its status by hand from the case. The principle underneath should shape your day. The normal path is automatic, and your attention is reserved for cases that need a decision. If you find yourself manually pushing ordinary cases along, something is configured wrong and it is worth stopping to find out what. For a fixed price service the number was agreed when the doctor picked it. For everything else, a service you price per case, or a case that arrived without a price at all, you set it here, once you have seen what actually turned up. Open the case, type the amount, and send it. The doctor gets 2 buttons, accept, and reject. If they reject, you get their reason and the price is wiped, so you propose a new one from a blank field. Now the part that costs labs real money if they get it wrong, and it is set in the wizard rather than here. If you did not turn on paying through Cympha, the doctor never sees a pay button and no earnings row is ever created for that case. The price still works as a record you both agree to, but you are invoicing them yourself. That one checkbox is the difference between getting paid on the platform and chasing it off it. After the doctor approves, how the case finishes depends on its category rather than on anything you choose. implant, orthodontic, and aligner cases delivered digitally. Approval takes them straight to delivered. A lab service case, where you are physically making something, moves through in manufacturing and shipping first, and you or an operational team member hold the shipping step. It is worth knowing which of your services fall into which bucket, because it sets what your clients see. A doctor waiting for an implant case to enter manufacturing will wait forever, and the case is not stuck. Every paid case appears on my earnings, broken down into what was charged, what the card processing took, what Cympha's fee was, and what is actually yours. The platform fee is 8%, plus the Stripe fee for handling the card payment. Now the timing, stated properly, because getting this wrong makes you chase people. A case becomes payable 15 days after it is paid. It is then settled in the next monthly payout run. So 15 days is when it becomes eligible, not when money lands, and in practice the wait is somewhere between about 2 weeks and 6 depending where in the month the case falls. Plan cash flow on that, not on the 15. And the one action that has to happen once, email your bank details to billing@cympha.com. Until you do, earnings accrue correctly and there is nowhere to send them. One last thing that is not a step. Cympha Studio is the three-dimensional workspace that runs in the browser, and your team reaches for it across the queue rather than at any single moment. Open a scan the day it arrives, to find out whether it is usable before it becomes a designer's problem. Check a designer's work before it goes back to the doctor. Give a second opinion from whatever device you have when someone wants a sanity check. It opens the common three-dimensional format straight from the case page, and implant plans open from the case as well, anything else downloads normally. Because there is nothing to install, it is usable from the bench, the office, or a phone in a car park, and that availability is most of its value. That is a lab on Cympha, end-to-end. 4 setup steps you do once, then a running loop of triage, exception handling, and payment. If you take one thing away, make it the order. The 2 steps that decide how well everything else works are the order form in the wizard and telling your clients you are here, and both happen before a single case arrives. Labs that do those 2 properly find the platform mostly runs itself. Labs that rush them spend months correcting intake by hand and wondering why the queue is quiet. The interactive version of this walkthrough is at cympha.com/onboarding, along with a companion session for your designers that picks up exactly where this one stops. If you want to see what your clients experience when they submit to you, the doctor session follows this same implant case from their side.